Hey, what's up, world, and welcome to another edition of the Take One Spoilercast. And just like the name implies, this is a spoiler. I will be talking about the episode 3 of The Gifted, which is on Fox right now. It's take place in the X-Men universe. And in talking about this, I will not make this a non-spoiler. This is all spoilers, as given the name a spoilercast. So if you don't want to be spoiled by this episode, tune out, go watch the episode and all that stuff and then come back. If you've already seen it or if you don't care about spoilers, go ahead and keep listening. I will appreciate it, and I will more than, appreciate, you giving the thumbs up to this video, as well as subscribing if you haven't subscribed to my channel, and turn your notifications. That way you get notified for anything that will appear on my channel. And so with that, let me get started into the spoilers. Like I've said before, these videos, these spoiler casts, are a little bit different from just a Take One spoiler cast or just a regular podcast and all. I try to keep my podcast, like a Take One podcast and now the Triple W podcast, I try to keep those at like a 20 to 30 minute length. But these spoiler casts, no matter whether it's a show, whether I'm doing it like for The Gifted, as I'm doing this episode, not episode, but just edition. But if I'm just talking about a movie or whatever, if it lasts 12 minutes to 15 minutes, that's okay. Those are the time lengths that, I'm okay with. If it's a 12 to however long, the length goes to, then that's what it is. And that's just for like the spoiler cast. So let's get right into it. This is another warning, and this is the last warning. This is a spoiler review, or not even just review, but a spoiler talk for episode 3 of The Gifted. And now let's go into it. So this episode briefly is about Caitlin, Lauren, and Andy going to find help outside the compound to try and get Reed out of the custody of the Sentinel services, while Reed himself continues to help the Sentinel services to hopefully find himself reunited with his family, as he basically made a deal with them. And Blink tries to gain control over her power, as well as Polaris still tries to find a way out of prison. And so this is actually a pretty good episode. I enjoyed it. It had like some stuff up in there that I appreciated. There is some in these shows. I'm not a big comic book reader. I don't know a crazy amount about X-Men, only from what I've heard from people, what I've seen on like shows, when people talking about it, they know a lot about it, or stuff that I've seen from movies or shows and stuff, or just little bits and pieces that I've read about. But there was some stuff up in this episode that I feel like, had I known a lot about X-Men and just a lot of the characters that involved X-Men, then I probably would have picked up on it. Like, there is one part of the show where the lead guy, the Sentinel services, he says something about he puts a band on Reed's I think his ankle, and tells him that it's a tracker and all this stuff, and he tells him that it doesn't get taken off unless he unlocks it. And so I guess if he tries to take it off, it may explode or something like that. And so he tells him that, unless you want to lose an ankle or something like that. And then he was like, it was just this, because this one guy. And like right when he said that, he got cut off by the other agent in the van. And so basically he just stopped right there. So I feel like, had I known a lot of stuff about, the X-Men universe and stuff that you can only really find in comics, I feel like that was kind of like a nod towards another mutant or something that happened in the comic books or something like that, or just a hint toward another mutant. I don't know, but it seemed like it was just something like a little nod, and I was just kind of mad that I don't know what the hell he's talking about, who he's referring to. But in any case, so we have Reed was basically sent on a mission, which was what I alluded to just now about him putting the band on him so that he basically can get tracked wherever he goes, to where he was sent to basically infiltrate the compound in any ways that he can. Which he met up with this guy who helped them escape before, and so he basically persuaded him to take him to the compound or whatever. So he took him down up in the basement along with these other mutants, and this was like a really, I'm gonna try this word. I keep messing it up. Pivotal part of, like, I guess you could say, his arc in this series, because when we first meet Reed, he's one of them type of guys that's just like the Agent Turner from the Sentinel group, well, the Sentinel service, in which he's kind of like he's all about the book. He's all about getting his man, and then he's all about doing his job through whatever it takes. And so that's the type of person that we met in the first episode. But once his family got involved, we started to see a whole different side of him. And so he still kind of has that mentality, but in a sense, like, he's somewhat changed because his kids are mutants and they're on the run, and his wife is on the run too. So that kind of changed him a little bit, gave him a little bit of a different aspect of, like, or, just a little bit different outlook on, just the whole thing of mutants and humans and stuff like that. So when it comes to that, this scene is real pivotal because he starts to connect with two mutants, a mother and her daughter. And just them being on the run, and them trying to get to the compound, and them trying to, just kind of escape the Sentinel group, and just survive. And so, he has this talk with her, and how she's like so kind to him, and he starts to look at them differently because they're just like everyone else. That the only thing that's different about them is that they have these mutant powers that they really don't ask for. They're just born with it. Everyone is born with the mutant gene. It just, a lot of people, like, just certain people are like kind of, they just end up accessing this mutant gene. That it's not like, everyone can access it or whatever. Everyone is, like, certain people can just, bam, you're in a extraordinary situation, you end up basically unlocking it, and you have powers. You don't ask for it, it just happens. And so he basically starts to see this. You can see his art starts to change. Like, he starts to become different. He starts to become more sentimental towards mutants, not only for the simple fact that his kids are mutants, so he has more of a close relationship to just, mutants in the whole, but just seeing these people that he don't even know, that he just met, and how they are, he starts to feel sorry for them. And it kind of gets to that point where they're on the go and they're in the van, and so he sees them, and like, he's like, they don't deserve to get basically taken by the Sentinel group and all this stuff. So what he does is that he basically just tells them that he's, they're being followed and that he's being tracked, and so, like, he's sorry. And so he basically jumps out the van, and that shows a real big part of his story. And I want to see where it goes from there, because a lot of times this is what makes a character more relatable, is when they start to get, basically when they put in a situation that changes their minds about something. They might end up going in there like an asshole, or just oblivious, not even just oblivious, but just ignorant towards a certain thing, and then come out of it more aware and more sentimental to whatever situation it is, or just come out different than what they were before. And so I feel like that was a big push towards his character, as well as hold on, let me go into my notes, and then basically just the whole thing with Caitlin and the kids going to, I believe it's their husband's brother, because the way, I don't know, like, I felt like it was kind of weird. I think that is like her brother-in-law, but just the way that they were kind of like, kind of like around each other, interactions was more kind of, I don't know. It seemed kind of off. It doesn't seem like something that a blood brother and sister type of relationship would be. Because guaranteed, my sister ain't gonna touch me on my chest like that. You know, like they did in like the basically the last scene. It seemed too close for comfort. So I don't think that was like in the story. I don't think that was her blood brother. I think that was like her brother-in-law. But they go to find him because they feel like he probably could help. Because I think he has connections, which he basically showed that he has some connections to find out where to kind of help her. Because at the end, he basically tells her that that he makes some calls and he finds out that Reed is still alive and that, you know, they're holding him in like this place. And I guess Polaris, they had holding her in like this cell as well, and he doesn't know where they at, but he doesn't know where they are, but he knows that they're being held captive, that they're both still alive. And so yeah, so she takes her kids there to get help or whatever. And so it's kind of like a messed up situation because he seems resistant to basically help her, and it's like it's understood because this is an extraordinary situation. You have people that, you know, that you find out that basically your niece and nephew are mutants, and that they are on the run. Like his brother and her wife are all on the run. So being like related to them or whatever, it's like it's gonna put a spotlight on you because you're gonna think about like, okay, dude, I want to know. No, they're gonna be like, okay, did he know? Do these family members know? And all this stuff, because you gotta think, like, being so close to people, you can't not know. But in the same sense, you can, you know, be in the basically you can't know everything about everybody. Though I am real close to my brother, I'm real close to my brothers and sisters. I don't know everything that go in their life. They don't know everything that go in my life. I could be a serial killer. I'm not. But I could be a serial killer. I could probably could have killed like 10, 15, 20 people in my whole life, and no one would know about it. And I'm not saying that I am. But you can have certain secrets. Not everybody is an open book. At least that open. Not everybody. You know, my brother, he could be doing stuff on the side. He could be a male prostitute for all I know. You know, he's not far from it. No, I'm just playing. But like, he can be a male prostitute and the family won't even know it. You know, it's you know, you can keep certain stuff away from people. But in the same sense, it's like, you know, when it comes to cops and government officials or just different groups that are like, you know, looking for, you know, certain people, they got to think about like that these relatives know, that these friends know, you know, this and that. Because it's not really impossible for someone that's real close to somebody not to know certain details about, you know, their life. But in the same sense, you got to rule out all possibilities. And, you know, in order to rule them out, you have to explore them. So, yeah, he's like scared. He's want to protect his family. He doesn't want his family to be prosecuted and taken away because he's helping her and all this stuff and helping their family. And so he's real hesitant to do it. He's like scared. And I thought this was going to be one of those scenarios where he pretends to help and then he ends up calling the police and they end up getting with the Sentinel group, and then, you know, it falls apart from there. But that wasn't the case. You know, he ends up basically not really saying anything, but he did want them out of the crib because he didn't want them to know. He didn't want people to know that they were there. And so his son does something so stupidly, which basically sends a picture to one of his friends to let him know that his cousin is there and this is what he did. And so now it brings a mob to the house, and it becomes a real intense situation. And so I was just like, I wonder how they're going to get out of this, because it's like, you have to tread lightly when it comes to something like this. You see all these people with guns, they basically just kind of want to kill the mutants. But in the same sense, you don't want to kill them because that's only going to bring more heat onto you. And it's going to bring the Sentinel group down, you know, on you harder than what they are now. And more government officials, cops, FBI, you know, it's going to bring more light to them. So, I mean, it's like you got to tread lightly with this. And so, the way that they got out of it was actually pretty cool. One thing that I didn't like about it was that when they basically was, when Escape, I was about to say Escape, wow, when Eclipse was using his power to hold the gun down from the guy, whatever, that was holding the shotgun up, and and they was getting away. I don't understand why he didn't use his powers to destroy their vehicles, at least destroy their tires and stuff, because you got to think, we did this, and this is only buying us time. We all get into the vehicle and drive off. You got to think, they're going to hop into their vehicles and chase us. Why didn't they do something to where, they destroyed the vehicles, at least to where they can't run? Because it's like, that would make more sense. Like, if I had Escape. If I had Eclipse's power, I would have destroyed their tires, destroyed their engines and stuff like that. That's what I would have did. And I wonder why the police and all these and other people weren't called. Because even though they come in as a mob, you would think that they would have called the police, that they would have did this. And they didn't. But they went on a chase. And so back in the compound, Blink is trying to hone her powers. She's trying to basically figure out how to use her powers. Because from what we was told, her powers were basically used off instinct, fear. Her trying to get away, and she ends up opening up portals and jumping through them and stuff. And so she hasn't got to the point where she knows how to, even without fear and all this stuff, that she can just bam, open up a portal and just jump through it. So basically that was her whole struggle, was just trying to control it without having fear or an extreme emotion involved. And so it gets to the point where she needs to use her power. And so one of the mutants, I forget her name. One of the mutants down there, Dreamer. She basically implants a memory that's one of her memories, but she basically changes it around to where it's Blink instead of her. And so she gives an emotional connection to I forget his name. The guy who basically found them, who is basically kind of like the leader of the compound. By next episode, I'm gonna come up with his name. I know I could stop it right now, but it's whatever. But in any case, so she becomes basically emotionally evolved to where she can be able to control her power. So they go on a mission to try and like tell them to come towards the compound, and so Blink can open up a portal and send them somewhere else to where they can get thrown off the track of the other people. And so they basically end up doing that, and so ended up finding out what Dreamer did to Blink. And so it's alluded to where it can fuck up, I guess, somebody's mind, which I don't know. Which is like, maybe it's something that was done up in a comic book, maybe. But obviously Dreamer has done that before to like several people. And so it's done something negative to their minds. So in doing this to Blink, more than likely she can't reverse the side effects. Well, she can't reverse what she did. She can't just take the, that thought that she put out, that is stuck in there. And so with it being like that, it ends up becoming something more. So hopefully, more than likely, as the season goes along, we'll find out what that side effect is that, happens. And so getting to the last part, we got Polaris. Yeah, we have Polaris trying to figure out how to get out of jail. Now, this is just quick. This only happened a few times. It really didn't give too much emphasis on like her in prison, but basically it's just kind of her still trying to figure out how to override the neck brace to try and use her power to get out. Now, she didn't get to the point where she is a little bit stronger when doing it, because before she used her power, it hurt her, and she kind of passed out. And so now it's to the point where she used her powers to break open the door, and her nose started bleeding. So it took a lot out of her. So yeah, it seems like she's kind of like being able to she's getting stronger in trying to overcome the neck brace. So eventually she's going to get to a point where she can use her power to break the neck brace, or use it to where she can like stand the pain of the neck brace or whatever, and eventually get out of prison. So yeah, that's basically what that was alluding to. It was like little small scenes throughout the whole episode, but that's basically where they were going with it. And so I think, yeah, that's it. That's really all I gotta talk about. This went longer than what I thought it was. I thought this was gonna be like a 12-minute something episode, but this is actually a pretty good episode. I liked it. I can't wait to episode 4, which comes on tomorrow. I'm gonna try and get these out a little bit more quicker. I'm gonna try and watch this a little bit more sooner in the week. That way I can get this out maybe on a Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, instead of like a Saturday or Sunday. But I mean, it is what it is. And so that concludes this my spoiler thoughts on episode 3, Exodus of the Gifted. That is on Fox. If you guys haven't watched this yet and you just don't mind spoilers, check it out. It's a really good show. I'm one of those type of people that if I watch a show, I don't base it solely off of the first episode. The first episode don't catch me, then I don't be like, oh, I ain't trying to watch this. I give it a 3-episode rule, which is funny, which, you know, I've learned that like a lot of people follow the same rule. This isn't something that I've seen someone else do. This is something I came up with on my own. That if I watch 3 episodes of a show, I give it 3 episodes. If by the 3rd episode it doesn't catch me, then I stop watching it. Because obviously it doesn't have anything going forward for me to continue to watch it. But if it does catch me by the 3rd episode, I'm gonna keep watching it. Even though a lot of times I've watched shows where even though the 3rd episode caught me and I'm like, okay, cool, and then I continue watching it, I haven't really liked the show. Still, I give it 3 episodes. Any show, if someone recommends me a show, I give it 3 episodes. If I don't like it by the 3rd episode, I quit it. But that's just me. But this episode caught me from the first this show caught me from the 1st episode, so I'm gonna keep watching. I'm still intrigued by the 2nd and 3rd, and hopefully by the 4th and going on and whatnot. So it is what it is. So that ends this spoiler talk, and I hope you guys like this. Give a thumbs up, subscribe, turn your notifications, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.